Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John with Flippin' Ain't Easy, and today I want to talk to you about the question that most people are asking themselves. Now, if you've been promoting and you maybe have got it down to a science, this video probably isn't for you. I'm not going to be able to tell you anything more than you already know about your business and what's working for you. But so many sellers out there just really don't know how much to promote. It's a mystery. Anywhere from 2%, which is the minimum, on up to whatever eBay asks you to promote, which could be over 20+%, which is nuts. But my thought is you shouldn't be hanging out at 2%, and you shouldn't be hanging out at the max for that category. And what makes me so sure that I know this? Because eBay tells us this. Now, I'm going to show you a couple items here, just random items I picked out of my store, just to kind of discuss this, to maybe give you some thoughts and ideas. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to just try to give you something to think about. Just got through watching a video that was put out by Tech and Sports. He reiterated what I've been saying for the longest time, and that is eBay is a pay-to-play platform. If you want the full benefit, you know, it's like that video game that we download and we play, but you get the deal on the base video game. But if you want the really good stuff, the really good add-ons, well, you got to pay a lot more for that. Well, that's kind of what it is. I mean, you're paying a little bit more to get the better experience, the better sell-through for your items, because what Tech said and what I've been saying is quite similar, that as time goes on, it's only going to get worse in the sense that we're going to have to pay more in fees to eBay. And I think the more successful businesses on eBay are going to be the ones that are going to be more willing to accept that. And instead of being upset all the time about it, figuring out how to move on to make it work, instead of trying to figure out a way to fight the system or to resist. Because the more you fight what eBay wants you to do, and they're really persuading a lot of people to change their mindset from being organic into promoted, well, the more you resist that, the fewer sales you're going to see over time, and the more sales you're going to see fall off that you're used to getting aren't going to be there. So I'm just here to tell you what my observations are, but I only use Tech as a reference because, a lot of folks respect him, and he's saying a lot of the same things that I'm saying. So hopefully you guys understand that it's not just, I'm not sponsored by eBay. I have no ties with eBay. eBay would prefer that I go away and stop talking. I'm only interested in telling you what works for me and what I've seen within my own business in the 2 eBay stores that I run. So it's up to each and every one of you guys to figure it out. And maybe the information in this video will give you some ideas whether you choose to promote or whether you choose to continue down the path that you are with your organic listings. And again, there's one factor that you have to figure out. For the listing that you're choosing to not promote versus promote, it's one factor. And the way it's designed, it's going to pretty much always be the factor in whether you promote and how much you choose to promote. And that is competition. Now, I guess we'll kind of look into it here. I'm going to jump over to my second screen. And as you can see here, I have these waders. And these are, it doesn't matter the size, but these are women's fishing waders. And going through here now, notice this. This is one point I want to make. See similar items here. When you promote, you get better exposure in a best match search, right? Just the initial search that the buyer makes on eBay. But you also get, see similar items, and you see that word sponsored. Sponsored, guys. If you are selling an item organically, your item is never going to be placed into my listing. And a lot of times a buyer will click into a listing. So they'll look at these waders and go, wow, okay, I can make these waders work. These are cute, whatever, right? And then they scroll down to see more about the listing. And before they even get to my item description, they see this leopard wader And they're like, ooh, I really like that. And so they click into that. And guess what? This ain't my listing. This is someone else's listing, and I'm not getting the sale for that. How did that seller even get the opportunity to steal the sale from me? And that's what it is. They're stealing the sale. This is one buyer looking for women's waders, and now they're clicking out of my listing and going into this listing. It's because they've promoted. Based on this, it says similar items sponsored. It doesn't say organic, it says sponsored. You are getting more exposure even through non-eBay search, guys, by promoting. Even at 2%, which I don't recommend, but it's better than nothing for this very reason. Now, we go through, we see that if you do a search on this, fishing waders, waterproof chest waders for women, my listing pops up first. Just so happens I have a pretty decent promoted rate, and we'll get to that here in a second. But there's quite a few people selling these waders. I think that's the same waders that I'm selling. They just didn't have a good photo. Now, of course, they're different designs, but I think you get the point. This one shows that there are 933 results for fishing waders, waterproof chest waders for women. Okay. And now, as far as how many have sold in the last 90 days, I think you need to you're not going to get a true sell-through rate, but you can get an idea. Now, I'm vying for 36, only 36 of these have sold with these keywords, have sold in 90 days out of 933 listings. That means that you are fighting for exposure. So someone who might be looking for a quick, cheap pair of waders, they're not going to go to page 5, guys. 933 listings. Look at this. Page 4. If you're on page 4, your listing's in trouble. Okay? If you're this listing right here, your listing's in trouble. Okay? And this, I'm willing to bet, this guy who's on page 4 is probably not promoting. Now, how do you expect to compete if you're stuck on page 4, right here on page 4? No one's, well, I mean, maybe they might click that far in, but they're probably going to find what they're looking for within page 1, okay? Now, I click on page 1, and my listing that was on top has now fallen to the 3rd spot, but that's kind of weird how that works. It's not always the same every time. But I'm still within range. So someone looking at this going, it's a little bit too high in price. Yeah, $82.99 and ooh, $58. Let me take a look at that. I can make that work. I have a chance. If I'm stuck on page 4, people aren't looking that far, guys. I'm telling you. Here's another example. I've got this Cooper Adkins Bell Surface Grill Probe. And guess what? There's other grill probes right here, and it's because they're sponsored. Okay? And more. Explore related items, sponsored. And as far as related items, so this one here is similar items, sponsored. This one here is related items, sponsored. So let's say you have a one-off item that you feel like I don't have a lot of competition for. It's an expensive vase, right? I say vase, but just say for Josh Galt's sake, vase. And it's a one of a kind. You might think, I'm not going to promote this because there's no other sellers with this very vase. But there are other vases out there, vases out there. And guess what? If you don't promote it, you're not going to pop up in someone else's listing that has a very different vase. But now, explore related items, your items related to the type of thing that they're selling, you will now get additional exposure. That is why it is so important to promote, guys, even if you have low competition. So something like this, I'm going to promote. Now, I guess I can go anywhere from 2 to, if I go in and try to revise this listing, let's see what eBay wants me to promote at. Now, this is the recommended, here it is, the recommended rate is 12.8%. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try to blow it up on my screen a little bit. Is 12.8%. Right there. Now, I'm not going to sell this at 12.8%. 10%, 10.1% is my max. Now, why am I choosing not to use the dynamic? Meaning that dynamic is you will always max out at what eBay's suggested rates are unless you set a cap. But my contention is you rarely see a suggested rate under 10%. So why not just set it at a flat 10% versus allowing eBay to treat your item like a roller coaster and set the rate that they want based on a number of factors. And it's based on seasonality, projected competition for that category. There's a lot of different things that eBay thinks, right? There's a formula to get you to believe that you should be promoting, in this case, at 12.8%. But I beg to differ on this, guys. So what I want to do, because I'm going to figure out where I should be promoting, I'm going to go to Performance. I'll go to Summary. That's how to find it. And go to your Listings Quality Report. It's here, this bubble to the right above my head. And you click on that. It'll download an Excel file. I believe it can also be looked at in Google Sheets and Apple Numbers, I believe. But I will pull it up here. So now I don't know. It only shows your top 10% of categories, and that's a real one-off item that I'm looking at, even the waders. But let's take a look at alternators. These are car alternators. I'll take a look at it. You have a separate tab along the bottom that will allow you to go to the different ones. Let me go to see if I can pull it up. Here it is, alternators. So here's the deal, guys. There's a lot of stuff here to look at. There's a lot of stuff here to absorb, and you're going to get lost if you try to absorb it all at once. What I want you to focus on is, it says impressions in eBay search. And remember, I want you to remember this. eBay doesn't promise you X amount of sales when you promote. They give you more traffic, meaning they give you more impressions. So when we're dealing through impressions in eBay search, okay, and we scroll to the right, remember this column is value trends, that's my store, and the second column underneath is top 10% of items shown in eBay search per seller. So top 10% of listings is pretty much page 1, okay? If we scroll over, you'll want to see promoted listings ad rate, okay? So for my alternators that I sell, I have a approximately 10% promoted listing ad rate. That's an average. These are average numbers. Now I go 10.1% max. So the idea that it's, I guess a lot of my alternators are currently at 10% right now. But I am above average. The average, the top 10% of items shown in eBay search is at 8%, which means that you could have some that are like me, 10%, and some that are like 6%. But the average on page 1, the top 10% of listings being shown are at 8%. So I can go to an alternator, and I'll do that real fast if I can, to show you that eBay is going to be asking me to promote. They're recommending me to promote at a much higher rate. So when I go to this listing here, and here's an alternator, it's for a Toyota Camry. If I scroll down to where it wants you to promote, it's saying that I should be promoting at 12%. You guys see that? Now I was promoting at 10.1 is where I'm at, okay? But it says the suggested rate is 12%. Now that's not in line with what we're seeing on the spreadsheet though. The spreadsheet is saying that the top 10% of sellers are promoting at 8%. So that should narrow it down. If you're at 2%, you might be on page 2 or the bottom of page 1, but you're not going to be in the top 10% of items being shown, okay? For most searches. That's not to say you're never going to show up at the top, but for most searches, you are not going to be above someone promoting at 6%, 8%. And there's ways to get higher ranking in search without promoting, and I'll tell you about that here in a second. So if you are to promote an alternator, you probably should be anywhere between 6 and 10%, in my opinion. So that way you can be averaging out at 8. Now, a strategy could be that 8% is the average. I'll be at 8. Fine. The way I look at it is I want to be near the top and above most of those sellers. If you say the top 10%, I want to be in the top 5%. That's kind of the way I look at it. So there you go, guys. That gives you kind of an example of how you do it. Now, everyone by now should have the listing quality report. Now, I suppose if you have a new store, if you're a new seller, you may not have it right away, but give it some time. You should have, and I'm not even sure if it's tied to having a store or not, but most sellers should have access to that. Use it, guys. And I'm not saying be into your reports and your data every day. That's a waste of time. But I'd say every 2 weeks, open it up. Take a look. See how you're doing as you compare to what? Your competition. When eBay is showing you the top 10% of items in that category for eBay search, they're showing you your competition. Instead of having to go look at solds and what's listed and doing the fuzzy math, you don't have to do all that. Now, we try to do that at the beginning, but it gets kind of convoluted. Go to this report and it'll tell you what your competition is doing, and be closer to that than what they're suggesting. I've seen where in some categories eBay is saying, hey, promote it 15%, promote it 20%. I've seen over 20%, where the average top 10% don't even promote that high. And it's a game. This is all a game. eBay is trying to manipulate you into promoting more than you need to. And I'd argue, and many people would argue, that, John, you're probably promoting 1 or 2 points too high, and you're probably right. It could be that I need to come down about a point in this particular category. But I'd argue I am high up in most of my items that I'm selling. I am high up on page 1 because I'm willing to pay to play. And once you get past that mindset where I don't want to pay to play, it's just, some people are willing to take less sales and save a little bit on their final value fees than to pay the extra final value fees to eBay and get more sales and make more money. I challenge you to do the math. If you were to, with what you're currently selling, add another, let's just say 5% to what you're selling in eBay fees, 5% in eBay fees. So let's say you sell a $100 item, another 5% is $5. If you were to 3x your sales because you're now promoting, and not just promoting at the minimum, but you're promoting near where eBay is suggesting that you promote for your category, how much more money would you make if you were selling 3x, even at an additional 5% promoted? I want to know what you guys come up with, really. And I think everyone owes themselves that much to sit down and do the math. Does that mean you're going to get 3x more in sales? No, but I've seen so many people that have come to me on our lives and saying, hey, ever since I've changed my rates or even started promoting, my sales have really taken off. So even 2x, do 2x. What would 2x, if you were to double your sales? Because look, I'm just throwing numbers out there. I don't know what the real impact is. It could be only a 25% increase. But would any increase in sales offset the amount that you're paying eBay? And I only hope, because we did like a poll on a live, I think it was a week ago or so. And the poll was, would you rather take an offer from a buyer that's $10, it's a $100 item. So would you rather take an offer from a buyer who's offering you that offer for that item $90? Or would you be willing to pay an additional 5% and get full ask at 100? And would you know? And the math turns out, by the way, to where the person that's selling the full ask $100 item is going to make a couple dollars more than the person who gives the $10 discount to the buyer. And in that poll, would you know that 53% of the people that took that poll said that they'd rather give the discount to the buyer? It's this mindset where eBay is taking too much of my money, and I I'd rather take less on the sale and or pass on the discount to my buyer. And I can understand if you're building a storefront and wanting to build and get more repeat buyers and through offering low prices and building something. I get that. But if you're just not promoting because you don't want to pay the man, you're going to stick it to eBay and you're going to take the hit to prove a point, that's not how you run an effective business. And I'm going to get canned. I'm going to get killed in the comments. But you know what? If I operated because I don't sell the greatest things, guys. If I operated my business that way, I probably wouldn't be here right now talking to you. I would probably be forced to do a lot of side gigs, and the idea of having any time to make videos because I'm struggling at eBay would be a thing. But I'm not struggling at eBay. We're very close this year to almost $200,000 in sales. We're going to end at about 185 is kind of where I'm projecting between the two stores. Now that's sales at about almost the 50% margin. So you can do the math on that. And that's less than 1,000 items in my store at any given time. So we are constantly churning. We're constantly flipping. We're constantly making sales. And of course, the biggest aspect of all of this is buying good. Buying your items at the lowest price possible. Going to the yard sale and they want 5. You know what? Ask for 3. What's the worst that they're going to be able to say? No? Okay, well then you pay the 5. But you will find that over time, if you buy 100 items over a 2-month period, that extra $2 is $200 in your pocket that you've saved. And of course, you can save a lot more on higher ticket items. A $50 item, offer $35. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it happens every day at yard sales. So a lot of things to think about. But look, I'm not here to convince you to use promoted listings. I'm here to tell you what you're missing out on if you don't. Even if you have one-off items that have, no competition. If you do an eBay search, if you notice that, okay, you have that vase again, that vase, that one of a kind, you do a search, you might come up, but you're going to see other listings that are similar. May not be word for word what your item is, but there'll be other similar items that's vying for that buyer's attention. So even when you have a one-off item, you're not the only one in that search, is what I'm trying to say. But if you decide that you're not going to at all, never use promoted listings, my only advice is that make sure that you fill in as close to 100% of item specifics as you can. Use over 6 photos in your listing, even if it feels redundant. Even if that means you're taking zooms into listings to zoom into something or, a feature of that item that you probably wouldn't take a photograph of. That's probably a good idea. And your pricing, guys, your pricing is going to be imperative because the way it is right now, when a buyer searches for our items in Best Match, they can go in and filter that by lowest plus shipping, okay? And if you have a low price, a very competitive price, you're going to be higher up in that search. And that is going to offset the fact that you're not promoting because those listings that are being shown are organic. And by having a good price, you're going to be able to overcome a little bit of this. So, look, I wish everyone the best. I just want to give you guys some ideas. The promotion game is here to stay. This is the way eBay makes their money. Their obligation is to their shareholders, number 1, and us, number 3. We're right behind the buyer. So any idea that eBay is going to throw us a bone, change their ways, the idea that we're going to band together and form a union and stop eBay from doing what they want to do is just not going to happen. Okay? And there's many reasons for that I'm not going to go into, but it's not going to happen. Only the folks that decide to take a stand are going to suffer while everyone else within your category is going to benefit until you're willing to start competing with them. And that's the way we got to look at it. You ever notice that when you're driving down a road that you see a lot of the same brands that promote their business on the side of the road on a billboard? The off brands generally don't promote, and they are off brands for that reason. And I think that's kind of how we have to look at it in business. We are competing with the other businesses for a buyer's business. And every little thing that we do to promote ourselves and our items so that they can be seen and not stuck on page 4 is going to help you in the long run survive in this game, because most eBay sellers, most small businesses don't survive to 5 years. And to me, this is replacing a 9 to 5, and I'm going to do the things, even if that means I have to pay a little bit more in fees to keep feeding eBay, then I guess that's what it is. But figuring out where you are in that equation, whether you're just never going to promote or you're reluctant, but you got to find where it's going to work out for you. Well, these are all examples of how flipping ain't easy. I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day. We will talk to you very soon. Take care.
Chargebacks, returns, and lowball offers too. Zero takedowns, they're a pain, what can we do? High selling fees, bad buys, and rude buyers galore. Flipping ain't easy, but we keep coming back for more. All resellers are gonna make mistakes. Learn from them and you'll have what it takes. In the world of reselling, we're your guide. With flipping ain't easy by your side. Sourcing great items is the key to success. Subscribe to the channel and stand above the rest. Focus on the thing that is within your control. Hang with flipping ain't easy. Let's roll! Catch the live streams on Mondays and Fridays. Join the Discord community for the parlays. Tune into the podcast. Profit Playbook's the name. With Scott and Josh, flipping's more than a game.